This is my Nissan 400Z, and it was in a potential drift accident. After making sure that the engine was good, pulling the frame on the quarter panel, and dropping $4,000 on an expensive paint job, this car is almost ready to be fully on the road. We just have a couple of big things we need to fix before the car is ready, starting with the door. This is the window motor assembly that holds the glass for the door. Now, since the door was smashed in, the rails for this assembly are all bent. A new one of these from the dealer is about $560, but obviously we weren't gonna pay that. So we bought an assembly from a 2015 370Z. It turns out to be the exact same thing. The only difference, on the 400Z, there's this little sensor that I have no idea what it is, but it's on here. We have to cut a hole somewhere around here so that we can fit that sensor into this new assembly.
The easiest way to do that is to put down a piece of tape, trace out the shape of this cutout, then take that tape, put it on the new panel, and use a Dremel to cut out the exact shape that we need to fit this sensor in. Now we're just gonna do a quick fitment check, and perfect. Next, we need to put in the wire harness into the door. I've put a lot of door harnesses together and doors in general, and usually this is a huge pain, but thankfully this door wasn't that complicated to work with. We've got the handle hooked up here, make sure that it works properly, and let's throw in the rails for the glass. The track is held in place by these two bolts here, which basically hold up the top section of it. The bottom section is gonna be bolted into that cover that goes on top of all of this. So now, moment of truth, we're gonna try and slide in the glass. It's gonna sit on this little mount here and here. It's just a little wedge, and hopefully it'll all sit correctly. Looks like the glass is sitting pretty good. And we're just gonna have a screw that goes right there that holds it in place. Then the other place is kind of just sits like a taco like this, holding it in place. All of these guys are wobbly, so we'll have to get it adjusted, but let's put that screw in this guy right here. In order for the glass to actually sit properly, we need to connect the bottom side of the rails that hold the glass to this outer molding piece that we just cut. Now let's go ahead and check the glass, make sure that it goes up and down before we patch everything up. Yes!
Yes, let's go. You guys, this was easily one of the biggest things I was stressing about with this car. I didn't know how the parts would fit. I didn't know if it would work, but everything worked out. Yes, yes, I am so happy. This is probably the last biggest thing we have left. The only other thing would be the front end. For some reason, the headlight and the front bumper don't align, but we'll get to that later in the episode.
Moving forward, we need to put on the little molding piece that lights up the Z on the rocker panel. Surprisingly, it's just held by some sticky tape and a couple of clips. After putting on the door seal, next was the A-pillar molding, and this is where we come in contact with our first problem. Nissan sent the wrong piece.
There's a little chrome trim right here, but when you go on this side of the car, it's fully blacked out. So I don't know what we're gonna do.
While I was on the phone with the dealer figuring out the A-pillar molding situation, we had Daryl from Glasstastic stop by and throw on that back piece of glass for us. He was the guy who took it off, and then he put it back on for us, no problem.
Turns out the dealer wasn't wrong. These all come chrome on the new 400Zs, just the previous owner wrapped it black. So I guess that's what we're gonna have to do.
Fun just never stops. Now we gotta throw on this metal piece that holds the rubber molding. Some nice ASMR for you guys. This rubber molding is what stops the water from coming into the car, and it sits between the glass and the door. Took a little bit of adjustment and opening and closing, but we got it sitting just right. Moving on to the back, we got to put together the whole back end. All these pieces are super dusty, but that's not a big deal. And in goes the interior seat. Coming in with the finishing touches, we throw on the Z logo. It's all just held on by a bunch of double stick tape. Throw that on and oh, look at that. The car is looking mint. Moving on to the front end of the car, we're taking off the old grille and putting it onto the new bumper. Thankfully, the grills were not damaged in the accident, so we were able to save them, didn't have to buy any new ones.
This bumper is missing one thing, and that one thing are these holders that hold the parking sensors in place. Now, thankfully, the old bumper does have the parking sensor holders, but they are glued on there. And we basically just need to sit here and just going back and forth, slowly chiseling it apart. So we can take this off and we're gonna just literally stupidly glue this. I can't believe that this is glued. I would expect Nissan to manufacture it all together, but I'm gonna grab these pieces and glue them onto the new bumper. All right, we got all the parking sensors on there. Sergey got the headlights lined up. I did. It's all good to go.
This is my first time ever putting a Nissan together, and from what I've learned, apparently putting on these front bumpers usually sucks. The fitment has to be just right. Thankfully, everything is OEM from the dealer, so it all clipped into place without any problems.
Clean.
This car is coming together so fast. Because this car has no aftermarket parts, everything fits perfectly, and honestly, it makes working on the car so much more enjoyable. I have been dying to take this stupid sticker off. Maybe whoever's into anime likes this stuff. I am not an anime fanboy, so for me this was just a huge eyesore.
And just like that, the Z is finally finished. Now there's a couple little pieces that we're not gonna look at the moment, but the entirety of the car is done. You guys, oh my word. This car looks beautiful. Beautiful, everything about it. I mean, the panel gaps and everything lined up beautifully. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to tell this thing was in an accident. Literally all we have left, I have this piece, I'm just waiting for some clips to come in so we can clip that in place. We'll get a black vinyl strip to put on top of this so we can wrap that. And then she is done. She's ready to go. The one thing this car really needs is a car wash. So let's go take it to the self-wash and give it a wash for the first time in months. Before it's ready to hit the road and do some ripping, we have 5 issues that we need to fix. First, we have the wheel that's been scuffed up. We need to take it off and go get that repaired. The headlight that we repaired, for whatever reason, is fogging up. We repaired this one as well, but it's perfectly fine. This one is fogging up, and that's not good because this headlight has DRLs inside of it. If it's gonna be continually wet, within 2 to 3 weeks, the DRLs are just gonna corrode and the headlight's not gonna work, and we're gonna have to get a new one. So we have to fix that. The airbag light is still on. I had it scanned. Turns out the airbag module is still locked, and there's some crash data sensors in the front bumper that aren't supposedly working as they should. So we're gonna take off the front bumper and get that figured out. The underglow works, but only one side works. This side and the back works. The front, the wires are completely ripped, and that other side has wires that are all intact, but they don't work. So I want to pull them off and see why they're not working and if we have to order new underglow. And for whatever reason, there is a code for the hood. The car thinks for whatever reason that when the hood is closed that it's still open. So I think one of the wires are not connected. So when we have that front bumper off, we're gonna take a look into that. So we got the wheel that needs to be fixed, airbag module needs to be reset, headlight needs to be fixed, underglow that needs to be fixed, and the hood sensor that needs to be fixed. Let's get on it. The part that sucks the most is that all of this is already put together and that airbag module is right behind this. But to take this panel off, we need to take this panel off, which we also need to unscrew this to pop this off and take this whole panel off. Basically, we need to take apart the whole back end once again just to get to that one airbag module. Once the car's all put together, the amount of work you have to go through taking all these panels off just to get this one little thing out makes me think that this is actually a worse position than having it down there.
This piece finally came in, so we can clip it into place. Ooh, that is mint. Moving on to the headlight, we have created our own little oven here in the garage using a cardboard box and a heat gun. So basically we're gonna cover up this cardboard box, turn on the heat gun, and it's gonna melt the glue.
Yeah, so when I got the headlight all heated up and then took it outside, it literally just condensed like crazy.
This was to test if all the water evaporated, which obviously it hadn't. So threw it back into the oven, let it really get hot so that glue would start to come undone. And now we can actually work on splitting the lens from the headlight housing. This is the first time I've ever even attempted something like this. The only reason I'm doing this is because a new headlight is about $1,500 from the dealer, and I don't really want to buy a brand new headlight when this one is perfectly fine. So we're gonna give it a go. This is kind of exciting. The majority of videos I saw on YouTube when it came to headlight splitting, people suggested to actually put the headlight into an oven,
I didn't feel comfortable doing that with this car being so new and parts being so scarce. Only reason I use a cardboard box. And this took a lot more work. Had to take a heat gun to the edges, and then as you can see, I had to try and cut the glue apart, use a screwdriver to try and pry it apart. This thing took almost an hour to split. And finally, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We actually did it. We split apart a $1,500 headlight and didn't break it. Now let's go in and start taking apart these small components. Oh my goodness, this headlight is beautiful. This is exactly why we took this whole thing apart. Notice how at the bottom there's all this dust at the bottom of the headlight, but everywhere else it's super clean. That's because that's where the water was sitting. Now, I can't really figure out where the water came in from because everything was sealed off. It seems like most likely it came in from the top, because I remember when the headlight was on the car, there was some sand that was getting bunched up here, and so it must have somehow seeped in through and gotten to the bottom. But I know for a fact at the bottom that there were no holes. So I don't know where the water is coming through, but we're still gonna check over the whole headlight, make sure it's all good. This is why it's super important to make sure all the water is out of there, because that computer, that sensor, if this got any more submerged with water, it would have gone and would have had to buy a whole new headlight. So these packets are rock hard now. They absorbed as much water as they could, and there's just nothing else to absorb. And all of this is cracked, it's all gone. This is one of the pieces sat somewhere in here like that. This was another reason why I had to take this whole headlight apart, just to make sure that I got it all fixed, because when you look at it from the outside, you can see that cracked piece, but now we'll get it glued and you won't even be able to tell that it was broken. The bottom of the headlight module had some rust on it, so we got that scuffed down, cleaned up, and back into the headlight. Now the lens had some cracks on it. It looked like it was just a hairline scratch from the front, but when you move it to the back, there was a whole section that was missing, so we had to get that put together. And this is exactly where the water got into the headlight. You can see my glove behind it. There's a little small section that we missed, all the panel bond around it, but that tiny little section let water into the headlight, and it's what caused us to have to take this whole headlight apart. But now we can get it fixed so it doesn't do it again. This is the post-glue mess. So we got the second headlight all glued up. Look at all this stuff. Unfortunately, the glue actually popped out from the back. So this whole $70 bottle now becomes a one-time use thing. Even though I could have used it multiple times, now I can only use it once, which really sucks. But we got the headlight and the lens all glued up here. This was the issue. This was the side where we had the water coming in. So that's all sealed up from the front and the back. This headlight is all sealed inside. Any holes or anything, it's all sealed up. So now we just wait for the glue to dry and we put it all back together. The passenger side door card was damaged in the accident, so I had my dad swing by. He is actually an expert when it comes to reupholstery on auto interiors. He's actually the one who got us into the car game in the first place. And so I had him help me put this door card back together, because these door cards cost $1,000 from the dealer and they are new to the Z. You cannot pull them off of an old 350 or 370Z. They are specific to the new Z. So we used some hot staples to hold the plastic together. We had some special adhesive bonding agent to hold the leather to the plastic. And now it looks brand new. If you don't know that this car was an accident, you wouldn't be able to tell. The time officially has come. We have to seal the headlight together. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. Honestly, very nerve-wracking. I hope I can do it right from the first time, because really would hate to have to take this whole headlight apart again. But we got the new silica gel packets in there, so that should soak up any kind of fluid or liquid that goes in. Now basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab some glue and we're just gonna stretch it around the edges here and then put it in the heat chamber box, and hopefully we'll be able to melt it all together. Fingers crossed. Funny enough, when I went to O'Reilly's to ask for headlight glue, they had no idea what I was talking about, because it turns out this glue is actually windshield glue, and it's used both on headlights and windshields.
Before we seal it all up, we gotta blow some air through here, make sure there's no dust particles, get the final reflector in there, put on the 20-minute timer, and let that headlight warm up. All right, let's check the glue. Oh yeah, that's definitely melted. Now we take a flathead screwdriver and run it along the edges and seams of the whole entire headlight to make a nice, flat, smooth surface for the lens to bond to. Let's blast it with some air one more time. Get some nice pre-fitment on there and put on some clamps to hold it together. And the headlight is gonna go back into the oven. Another 20 minutes has passed. The headlight is steaming hot. We put new clamps on it to try and squeeze the lens and the headlight together again. Finally, I gotta use a heat gun one last time to melt the glue and then push the lens and the headlight housing together in order to get the tabs to click together.
This is it. The headlight is fully sealed up. All the tabs line up the way they should. Everything is in place. All the cracks and everything is sealed up. We got the bracket on. And it is ready to go on the car.
I've already brought this SRS module back to the place locally to have it redone twice, and there is still an airbag code, so I sent it out to Safety Restore out in Massachusetts. Just got the SRS module back. We're gonna put it into the car, hook up the front bumper with the airbag sensors, and hopefully, I really hope the airbag light goes away, because if it doesn't go away, it's giving a code for front bumper airbag sensors. Now, the issue is that there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the actual bumper itself. Then there's also an airbag sensor here and a couple on the core support. But the codes are reading for the middle one, the left, and the right. The thing is, there's 2 of them on the right and 2 of them on the left, so I wouldn't even know which ones I have to switch out. Plus, they don't look damaged. So I have no clue. I really am hoping that it's just the airbag module that needed to be reset correctly. Let's put it in and let's see. Okay, this is the moment of truth. Yeah, that didn't work. I had to reset the SRS airbag module 3 times thinking that would help, but it wouldn't work, and no shops around me could figure out the issue. I had to buy this computer. It was about $2 grand, but I work with cars, so it works out.
What you have to do to clear the code is you'll have an IVC code under IVC. This is what I did to clear it. So you go under special function. Go to this automatic report prevention release. Make sure it's on unlock. You'll have to click start. It'll unlock. That will turn back on, because if you don't have it, if you have it locked, that will not work. Now that it's unlocked, you just click escape, escape, trouble codes. If there's any trouble codes, you'll erase the codes and your airbag light will go away.
By using this brand new scanner, we were actually able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because it not only turned off the airbag light, but it also turned off the hood release sensor light. So now the dash is completely light free and we can move on with the build.
Ta-da! The wheel is finally fixed, finally painted, and we put it on the car. The time has finally come where we can fully finish the underglow on this car. So for whatever reason, only half the underglow was working. I think because at the auction house, when the Copart trucks go under to lift the car on the rocker panels, they damaged the strips. So we had to buy some new ones, and they finally came in. Okay, so here we are. We ordered a nice fresh kit from Low Glow, which is also the same brand sticker that's on the back windshield there. This whole kit right here, kind of nice of them. They included a nice little fruit snack, Scooby snacks. So this is gonna be the front. We got 2 of them, 2 pieces. And then we got the side, 1 long one, unless they put 2 in here. And we got a little sticker. That's sick. It'd be cool if it was of the Nissan 400Z, but anyway, still pretty cool. Before actually putting them on, I wanna take and connect them just to make sure that the strips actually work. Because if I put them on and they don't work, that would really suck. There we go. These are the 2 front ones, so it looks like it's working. And the one side panel. Looks like that one's working too. Let's go ahead and put it on.
As a kid, I thought underglow was the coolest thing in the world. Now that I'm grown up, I don't think that. However, this car came with underglow already installed on it, so I just thought, man, how could I not use this opportunity and complete the kit?
It's done. Oh my word, you guys. This is the most complete the Z has ever been. Check out the underglow.
This car will for sure be a head turner at every car show. And here it is, the final piece to the puzzle, doing the chrome delete on the door trim panel. This is the first thing I've ever wrapped in my life on a car, and I think it turned out pretty dang good.
All right, long time coming. The car is finally done. This is the most completed it has ever been. Throughout the whole journey of this process, all the dash lights are gone. The headlight doesn't fog up. The wheel is fixed. The body looks excellent. The car drives beautifully. We only have one thing left to do, and that's an oil change. Now, I bought all the oil stuff needed to do an oil change. It was about 60 bucks. And then I called the dealer, and the dealer said an oil change costs $80 over there. I don't have a problem doing oil changes, but when the car is lowered, it's a lot harder than a normal car. Let's get the oil changed and then get some sick B-roll of this car. Guys, I did not imagine that a car like this could look so beautiful and be so much fun to drive. Through everything that we had to do when it came to taking the car apart, pulling the frame, getting the car painted, getting rid of the airbag code, this car had its fair share of challenges, but we got through it and we're finally here looking at the beautiful final product. The car definitely came out a lot more expensive than I expected, but you know what? With this car being so rare right now, it doesn't even matter. To be able to get one from the dealer stock, you're looking roughly around $55,000 MSRP. This car is lowered, it's tuned, it's got an exhaust, intakes, underglow. I mean, man, this car is set to break necks at any car meet you go to. Honestly, I've taken this car to a couple car shows already. I've had people see me on the streets, take videos of the car, find me on Instagram and Snapchat, and then send me the videos and say, oh my gosh, I saw your car.
God, that sounded so nice.
Is that Salvage keys? Oh my! In our state, Minnesota here, I've honestly only seen one other Z on the road in the last year. So these cars are a dime a dozen. But this concludes the 2023 Nissan Z Performance Series. Thank you guys so much for sticking out through the whole entire journey. If you haven't yet, subscribe, like the video, share, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.